Hi, guys. I'm Caroline Elliott. I have a speech for you today. I'm super nervous, if you can't tell. Hope you like it. Okay. Before I came to Taft my sophomore year, I went to a day school in Providence, Rhode Island called Moses Brown School. Moses Brown is a Quaker school, which means that it's dedicated to Quaker values such as truth, fairness, and community. Among other things, this meant that we called our teachers by their first names in order to promote equality, and every time a student was caught breaking a major school rule, a summary of the incident was posted on a board in the main hall for everyone to see, eliminating the potential for rumors and lies. It also meant that every Thursday, the entire upper school would gather in the auditorium for meeting for worship, one of the oldest Quaker traditions. During meeting for worship, everyone was required to sit in silence for 45 minutes and reflect. If a student received a message from God or just felt compelled to say something on his or her mind, that person could stand up amidst the silence and share their thoughts with everyone. When the speaker had finished, he or she would sit down and the silence would return. As a freshman, it was pretty much an unspoken rule that we did not talk during meeting. Speaking in front of the whole school was kind of considered social suicide. But one day in the winter, a freshman girl named Allie dared to defy this unspoken rule. She stood up and she gave a long speech about something that I don't remember. But what I do remember is that she ended by saying, "Do what you want with this information. Agree, disagree, make fun of it, I don't care." I stepped out of my comfort zone today, and it felt good. When I look back on high school, I want to remember all the great things that I did, not the great things that I could have done. Allie sat down, meeting ended, and students did make fun of her. They said things like, "That was so aggressive of her," and "Did you see the way those seniors were looking at her?" I went along with all of it, but in my mind, her words had a different impact. That night, I went home and I told my mom that I wanted to go to boarding school. When she asked why, I explained that yes, Rhode Island was home, but I wanted to experience something different, to step outside my comfort zone. So I came to Taft, and it was different. My little Rhode Islander world was turned upside down. Everyone wore these jackets called barbers, and apparently squash wasn't just a vegetable, but a popular sport. For a while, simply being at Taft and surviving every day without receiving a Taft 40 or forgetting to sign in to breakfast was sufficiently outside my comfort zone. Finally, I made it to my sophomore spring. I knew my way around campus, I had steady friends, my grades were good, all was well. Until Allie's speech began nagging at me again. When I look back on high school, I want to remember all the great things I did, not the great things I could have done. As much as it scared me, I knew I had to once again step outside my comfort zone. So I joined the girls' crew team as a coxswain. I had a great time during the season getting to know all the girls on the team and being on the water every day. I also steered one of the boats into the shore during a race, which, believe me, it's not something that all beginners do. I was just really, really bad at crew. But do I regret joining the team? Absolutely not. That spring, I also decided to take a chance and apply to be a monitor. I knew I risked the disappointment and embarrassment of being rejected, but there was Allie in my head again. When I look back on high school, I want to remember the great things I did, not the great things I could have done. I was accepted, and I spent my entire junior year as a monitor in Vogue, learning to do things that no academic class could ever have taught me. I began writing for the Papyrus, I attempted to learn how to play tennis, I tried out for Hydrox, I opted in for class committee, I went to every single school dance, even though I am still terrified that when people make that giant circle in the middle of the dance floor, someone's gonna push me in and I'll have to dance all by myself. Not all these things have been successful. That's just the honest truth. I don't even think it's 50-50. However, every experience has given me a memory that I wouldn't have otherwise had. So I want to thank you, Allie from Moses Brown, who I've never actually spoken to. You inspired me to step outside of my comfort zone and to go to Taft. You're the reason that I'm standing up here today, giving a speech, something that I am definitely not comfortable with, but will remember for the rest of my life. Thank you for being that freshman girl who stood up during meeting for worship and spoke for what she believed in, despite the social consequences, because you were right. As for everyone here, we're so lucky to go to a school where the opportunities to stretch ourselves with new challenges and experiences are endless. Everyone who tries is able to find something they love and can excel in during their Taft career. So please, find your comfort zone within Taft, but when you do, get out of it as fast as you can. Dare to find something that challenges you and forces you to grow. Because I'm here to tell you that when you look back on high school, you'll want to remember all the great things you did, not the great things you could have done. Thank you.
All right, great job, Caroline. So we're just about in the thick of things here at the Taft School. It's the second week of classes, and it kind of just feels like the year is already starting to fly by. Though I think this part in the school year is somewhat awkward for all students. Before, it was super awkward because you guys didn't know each other. Now it's awkward because you know a good amount of people, but there's still a little more than a few that are still strangers to you. And I don't just think this applies to new students, it's everybody. I fall victim to this dilemma all the time. There's always that one kid who sort of sits in the back row and your paths just never really cross. Before you know it, you're taking your winter exam next to this guy and you don't even know his name. It's nothing against him, you just never got the chance to introduce yourself. I mean, let's face it, after orientation, no one really wears their name tags anymore. Shout out Sam Ockpan. With that being said, before I officially start my speech, I just want to encourage everybody to still try and meet someone new. I think we should give ourselves until the end of this week to still meet other people for the first time before we officially declare it too late in the year for icebreakers. If, after the end of this week, someone introduces themselves to you, it's really okay to say, look, man, you had until Friday. Did you not go to the morning meeting? Like, were you not there? Now it's your fault that we both feel weird. Figure it out, Ryan Parcells. Now that we've cleared that up, I'm ready to officially start. So today I want to talk about having the confidence to be your true self at Taft. And then I'm going to end with a few more shout-outs. So I want to share a story about my revisit day at Taft. It's a huge day for the admissions office. I know for a fact that it's circled on Mr. Richardson's calendar. So on my revisit day, Mr. Frew gathered us around in Bingham, and he began talking about all of our accomplishments in order to explain why we were accepted into the school. He started listing things off, but he never really used anyone's name. He just kind of speak generally to the entire crowd and say, you know, you were the best singer in your church choir. You played 3 instruments. You spoke 5 languages. You speak 5 languages, and so on and so forth. I waited and waited for Mr. Frew to say my accomplishment. I wanted to know why I got into the school. And I remember him saying what in my mind was one of the weaker parts of my application. Just, you baked breads for the local senior center, and you participated in the so-and-so club at your old school. And I just remember thinking, seriously? That's what you thought made me jump off the page? Like, right after he said it, there was a parent in the other row that let out a loud wow. And I was like, I couldn't believe this person was like genuinely impressed. Immediately, I was like, what's wrong with this place? I was certain Mr. Frew would mention something about my other hours of community service, my GPA. I was also a sports captain, but somehow I was lost in translation, which I don't really understand because on the application, I remember the directions saying, list extracurricular achievements in order of importance and value to you. It seems pretty hard to miss, but don't worry, Mr. Frew. I'm not actually mad. Well, at the time, I was pretty pissed, but like I'm totally over it. You read thousands of applications, it's totally understandable. But before we walked out of Bingham, the two kids that sat next to me, Mr. Frew talked about them, and he said one had gone on a service trip to Africa for the whole summer. The other was an outstanding musician. Turning towards me, they asked, which one were you? And so, there was a long pause, and I kind of averted my eyes, hoping they'd change the subject. One of the kids spoke up and said, wait, I know, you were the lacrosse captain, right? This is what really put me over the edge. Like, is it really that hard for people to understand this? Like, lacrosse captain? 5'7", 145? Probably not. And keep in mind, this is after we had our basic small talk where I already explained that I'd be playing golf in the spring. So don't worry, this kid didn't end up coming to Taft. He was an idiot. He probably went to Hotchkiss. He probably went to Hotchkiss. I don't know if you guys heard that. But nevertheless, this mix-up I saw as a way to escape my embarrassment. So I was the lacrosse captain. He had an okay year, just above 500. I quickly glanced over my shoulder and made sure there was no 6'4" kid behind me in his lacrosse team's jacket. Thankfully, no one was actually there, but I can only imagine someone sitting there going like, "We actually went undefeated that year. Scored 42 goals. Shout out Matt Davies." So the moral to the story lies behind the reason I lied that day. I lied because I felt like I didn't fit in. I lied because I didn't think my real success story matched everybody else's. And I don't think that's a foreign thought here at Taft. So many people at the school are good at what they do, and it's very easy to feel like you're at the bottom of the pack. It's really tempting to lie about your talents, especially for a lower mid. I can promise you, however, that being cocky at Taft is the worst thing you can do, particularly if you can't put your money where your mouth is. Modesty goes a long way here, and I really think it's an underrated trait. So the lesson to take away from my revisit day is to trust that you were given your acceptance letter for a very good reason. You're all great kids, and you should let your actions speak for themselves. There are a few people that I want to mention before I end today. The first is Jack Elrad. Just thank you so much for working your tail off on every video you had to shoot for us. I wish you the best in your video career. You're the man. You might want to save your applause to the end. To all the faculty, huge thanks to them who constantly remind me to get sleep. I really appreciate you guys looking out for me. It means a lot. Huge thanks to all my friends who are nice enough to let me leave things in their room. Tristan Shea and Sam Sweet, and also Locke McGee and Matt Meyer. This burden has fallen upon you in these last few weeks. Thanks for the hospitality. Last shout out's going to go to a new friend, a pretty special friend. His name's Mtabisi Tashuma, or MT, as most people have come to call him. Before we started school, MT stayed with my family and me, and I took the responsibility of helping him adjust to the U.S. He's originally from Zimbabwe. And I taught him a few things just to help keep his head above water. And I can barely look out for myself, so. But I just want to take the time to tell him how much he's actually taught me in the process. MT, you taught me a lot about passion. I think if I could love anything as much as you love soccer, I'll be pretty successful at whatever I do. More importantly, helping you through your homesickness and noticing how much you miss your mom and your brother reminded me of how much I take my family for granted, and I'm thankful for that. With that being said, there's not much left to say other than welcome to Taft, brother.